Miriam returned early from the women's ministry conference. Something in her spirit told her to come back. Entering the house, she called out, but no one answered. She walked upstairs, and the door to Oko's room was slightly opened. What she saw next drained the color from her face and pierced her spirit with a pain she couldn't speak. Duncan sat close to Aoko, whispering words no father should ever say. His hands brushed her shoulder with unnatural tenderness. In a quiet town of Madi, where sunflowers bloomed in summer and snow blanketed the rooftops in winter, lived Miriam and Duncan Olochi. They were the kind of couples everyone admired, humble, prayerful and inseparable. Married young, their bond was fought through hardship, prayer and years of mutual respect. For nearly a decade, for children, they fasted, they cried, they believed. And one day, God answered. First came Aoko with eyes like morning dew, then little Remy with laugh that filled their house. Their home, once marked with silence, echoed with the sound of life. Miriam devoted herself to her home, raising her children with biblical wisdom and tender love. Duncan, a teacher and a preacher in the local assembly, was admired for his discipline and knowledge. To all, they were the perfect family, blessed, rooted, and whole. Years passed, and Aoko blossomed into a graceful, intelligent young woman. She was deeply respectful, wise beyond her years, and reminded many of Miriam's younger self. She played the violin and sang in church. The villagers said she was anointed, but somewhere in the stillness of their thriving home, a darkness crept in unnoticed. Duncan began spending more time with Aoko under the guise of mentoring her. Miriam at first was grateful. He wants her to grow in wisdom, she thought, but slowly things began to shift. Miriam would find Aoko withdrawn, quiet, avoiding eye contact. Her once joyful laughter dimmed and her music lost its melody. At night, she often woke up crying. Miriam tried to reach her, but Aoko would say, "I am fine, Mama," and she would force a smile. Then came the day that cracked the soul of the household. Miriam returned early from the women's ministry conference. Something in her spirit told her to come back. Entering the house, she called out, but no one answered. She walked upstairs. The doors to Aoko's room were slightly opened. What she saw next drained the color of her face and pierced her spirit with pain. She couldn't speak. Duncan sat close to Aoko, whispering words no father should ever say. His hands brushed her shoulder with unnatural tenderness. Aoko sat frozen, her eyes wide open in terror. Miriam gasped. The moment shattered. Miriam couldn't believe that her husband, who had been a devoted father and husband, had fallen in love with their own daughter, to the extent that his feelings for her consumed him, clouding his judgment and blurring the lines of what was right and wrong. Aoko burst into sob. Duncan got out of the bed, panic washing over him, but Miriam didn't scream. She didn't faint. She walked slowly towards Aoko. She sat beside her and wrapped her arms tightly around her. "I see now," Miriam whispered, tears falling freely. "You have been carrying this all by yourself." Duncan tried to explain, blamed the devil, claimed it was just a moment of weakness, but Miriam stood firm. She took Aoko and Remy and left that night, walking away from the life they had built, away from the shame that Duncan had invited into their home. The church was scandalized. Some blamed Miriam, others accused her of exaggerating, but a few stood with her, and more importantly, God stood with her. Years passed. Miriam raised her children with even more grace and resilience. Aoko healed through therapy, faith, and distance. Remy became a strong protector of women. Miriam never remarried, but she found joy again through her children, her ministry to broken families, and the peace of knowing she had chosen truth over appearances. Duncan, now a ghost of his own former self, lived in exile spiritually and socially. He wrote many letters of apologies, but Miriam never answered. Some wounds, though forgiven, must be left untouched. And as Aoko one day stood before a congregation, she testified boldly. She ended her message with, "My father broke me, but my mother's love and God's mercy restored me. Evil hides in silence, but truth sets us free." The end. If you've enjoyed this story this far, please do not leave without giving it a like, subscribe, and share. And please consider leaving a comment in the comment section telling me whether you enjoyed this story. And let's meet on the next episode of Wonder Tales by Julianne.